terrorism and significance of international in the 21st century. As it has been revealed by Professor Ramchandra Prasad, of course, much has been discussed on terrorism. I think nothing is left out to me. However, it stimulates me to share few thoughts on bioterrorism, especially during COVID-19. So I have taken this task to share few thoughts. When it comes to the knowledge of terrorism, there are many offshoots of terrorism. On the other hand, we have had as many as specific international agreements to tackle terrorism, not only in India, cutting across the world. However, you might have got some criticisms leveled against to the law in which you have been retaining. Of course, it requires a lot of drill to understand, to tackle some situations which are highly widespread at the national and international level as such. So in this context, there are so many conflicts which are highly vitiated all along. Of course, when we talk on Western political thought, there are so many things to be looked upon. So why I'm sharing on Western political thought, I have, completed my MA in political science, because political science and law are in fact honeymoon subjects. They should go hand in hand, because the way in which the political thought has given you some inputs to understand law shall not be forgotten. I believe some of the statements given by various experts in the field of law, in which they are highly expressive. What is law? It's very difficult to understand. With a view to define law, we have developed our own jurisprudence. Jurisprudence andre Nyaya Shastra anta kariತೀವಿ ನಾವು, jurisprudence. When we look at the situations which are highly expressed on the basis of a jurisprudence shall also be verified. And there are so many schools of thoughts have spoken of to understand concept of law. With a view to define law, there are so many schools of thoughts have spoken of. You have a natural law philosophy, American realism, Scandinavian realism, economic approach, anthropological approaches, Setna's synthetic jurisprudence. You have Karl Marxism, and many things have spoken of to understand what is law in otherwise manner. Look at your postmodernistic approach. Why postmodernism has come through? There are so many things are there to understand postmodernism. This is what Michael Foucault, Lacan, and Derrida have spoken on postmodernism. There is nothing in postmodernism, please understand, when you are actually sharing few thoughts on postmodernism. When you are realizing on postmodernism, there shall be closest connection between haves and have-nots. These are the barriers we have, although we have had so many specific legislations at the national and international level as such. My observation is very simple. When we are dealing with postmodernism, there shall be coordination between Karl Marxism and the capitalism as such. They should go hand in hand. This is what the postmodernism has come through. Why I'm sharing all these examples, there is a relevance from the standpoint, especially during COVID-19. We have already been totally frustrated. Look at serious curfews, lockdowns, travel restrictions. It is because of these reasons we are unable to enjoy our own civil liberties. Of course, much has been discussed on civil liberties. Nothing is left out to me. I agree with you. However, there is a room for discussing all these issues. You are a better judge. Judge what is right and what is wrong. What is good for me may not be good for you. What is right for me may not be right for you. So these are the things we have. However, there is a way out to overcome all these issues and challenges which are highly widespread at the international level as such. Before I'm going to deal with this topic of a great relevance, it would be pertinent to understand what is public international law. When we talk on public international law, of course, you might have gone through the definition of public international law in otherwise manner. I believe perhaps you might have studied in your INR, international relations, wherein it has outspoken on the coordinations between states themselves. In nutshell, I can say, I'm not living alone. I'm living with my wife. I'm living with my friends. I'm living with my fellow human being. So in that context, I should know how to behave with somebody. This is what one has to understand when it comes to the knowledge of the international relations between states themselves. I mean to say, states are not living alone. They are living with many people. So when they are living with other nations, they should know how to behave. This is what international behaviorism shall also be looked upon. So in this context, understanding public international law here is to be looked upon. When we talk on public international law is nothing but body of rules and principles which regulates the members of international community as a whole. Who are the members here? States, lesser extent with individuals, non-state entities, organizations, or judicial institutions should be brought within the limits of public international law. So in this context, the public international law is in fact well designed, and it has rooted through on the basis of covenants in the sense that agreements between states or treaties between states. What is treaty? This is what Article 2, paragraph 1 of Vienna Convention on Law of Treaties 1969 has defined what is a treaty. Treaty may be a lawmaking or a treaty contract. These are the two kinds of treaties we have at the international level as such. Some of them are lawmaking treaties, like you have a WTO, World Trade Organization, policies. They're all actually based on lawmaking treaties. Look at your UN Charter 1945. It is a lawmaking treaty. Then Third Law Conference on Law of Sea 1982. It's a lawmaking treaty. Then Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations 1961. Vienna Convention on Consular Immunities and Privileges 1963. These are the treaties which are highly spoken of at the international level to have coordinations or cooperations among the nations. Here, when we look from the perspective of UN Charter 1945, perhaps you may have gone through the preamble of UN Charter, wherein it has outspoken on the human values, that the human values shall also be looked upon. Look at it. Starts with we the people of United Nations, determined to save the succeeding generations from the scourge of war. When you are actually relying on UN Charter 1945, concept of war nowhere defined. You don't find the concept of war in UN Charter 1945 because of our own bad experiences, we have omitted the concept of war under the umbrella of UN Charter 1945 as such. And then what is the role of United Nations organization? One of the objectives of a United Nations organization is to maintain or restore international peace and security based on cooperation and the coordination as such. Cooperation is a law as far as public international law is concerned. Everything is based on coordination, mutual coexistence, reciprocity, then self-determination. What is the self-determination? How would you understand self-determination? Self-determination. It is the right of the people to determine their own sovereignty. This is what we have already been known. So in this context, I have designed some slides to understand what is bioterrorism, how in what manner public international law is actually tackling some of the situations like bioterrorist activities, not only in India, cutting across the world as such. Of course, when we are relying on the concept of bioterrorism, there are so many conflicts which are highly expressive. You know very well, whether egg is first, hen is first, we don't know. Plant is first, seed is first. Military necessities first, or humanity is first. And you cannot be a stronger by exploiting others. All are equally footing. This is what law says. Like should be treated alike. Unlike should not be treated like. Equality before law and equal protection of law, they should go hand in hand. I agree with you. I'm not disputing when we are actually relying on these aspects are concerned. And moreover, if rather I would say, perhaps you may have gone through, wolf theory. Wolf is actually standing before sheep, demanding right to food. A sheep, I have a right to food, I want to kill you. Then sheep replied politely, wolf, my friend, however you might have got right to food, but I have a right to life, you cannot kill me. So these are the controversial issues we have when it comes to the knowledge of wolf theory as such. So how, in what manner you are going to balance the interest between right to food and the right to life? So these are the controversial issues we have when you are actually running with these conceptual analysis are concerned. Of course, so we need to have peace. I don't want to deal with war as such. Why war has come through? What are the reasons to wage war with other nations? There are so many reasons for war as such. How do you overcome? Look at when it comes to the knowledge of the developments that are taken place at the international level. We have Vienna Conventions, Geneva Conventions, additional protocols 1977. These are the laws that have spoken of to overcome war at the international level as such. However, you might have got some specific international agreements at the international level. War cannot be put an end. There is a story one has to understand. If you are closer to high temperature, high fertility will come. When you have got high fertility, population will be increased. When you have got more population, these problems are quite common here and there. So it is one of the responsibilities on the part of a state to overcome all these problems here and there. This is what 5 special reporters of International Law Commission, they developed some of the theoretical and practical implications to understand the concept of the state responsibility as such. What is a state responsibility? If a state violates an international obligation, then the state responsibility would come into picture. There is a dichotomy between state liability and the responsibility as such. One has to understand when you are actually relying on concept of state responsibility. Also, this is what draft articles on state responsibilities for internationally wrongful acts 2001, which are actually drafted by 5 special rapporteurs of International Law Commission, shall also be looked upon. And we need to have all these policies to analyze the system in an appropriate manner. Otherwise, it's very difficult to overcome bioterrorism all along. So in this context, we need to have a peace assessment. What is peace? How will you understand peace? Peace, it does not mean it is an absence of war. Peace, it does not mean it is an absence of war. Peace means presence of justice. Presence of justice. I mean to say, the fruits of justice should be shared to the people who are left out in the society as a whole. This is very, very important. So why I'm sharing, when you are actually relying on bioterrorism, see, women and children are going to be targeted. This has happened even during First and Second World War, as such. Ongoing wars or internal armed conflicts between states themselves. Look at Afghanistan, look at Yemen war, look at Syrian war, look at war in Chechnya, war in Georgia. So these are the examples I can cite before you to understand these issues and the challenges are concerned. So I might share with you in nutshell, peace means presence of justice. Your triple justice, like economic justice, social justice, and the political justice should be shared to the people who are left out in the society as a whole. That's why we have to give voice to the voiceless. This is very, very important. If somebody is actually crying at home, that the mother should know why he is crying. This is very, very important. And understand why he is crying. That's very, very important. If something has gone wrong during COVID-19, it is one of the responsibilities on the part of a state to render justice to a common man. The vulnerable groups should be protected. That's why law has come through to overcome all these issues and challenges here and there. So that's why we need to have a peace on this Earth planet. Otherwise, it's very difficult to live as a human being as such. So in this context, in nutshell, I can say peace means it's a presence of justice. Peace, it does not mean it is an absence of a war as such. So in this context, we have to understand what is bioterrorism as such. Bioterrorism, ಜೈವಿಕ ಭಯೋತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ಯಾಕೆ ನಾನು ಈ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಈ COVID-19 ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ತುಂಬಾ ಅನುಭವಿಸಿ ಸಾಕಾಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ವಿ. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಈ ಬಯೋಟೆರರಿಸಂ ಹೇಳುವಾಗ, ಜೈವಿಕ ಭಯೋತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಹೇಳುವಾಗ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಅಂಶಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ವೈರಸ್ಗಳು, ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್, ದೆನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳಿಂದ ಬರಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಇದೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಇದೆ. ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಮೇಡ್, obviously you have to talk more on bioterrorism. If it is natural, there is a lot of scope to heal them accordingly. So these are the two sidelined approaches we have when you are actually relying on bioterrorism as such. In my introduction, I'll be relying on the definition of bioterrorism. Bioterrorism is the use of bacteria, viruses, or germs to purposely harm large quantities of people or communities. These weapons are spread through air, water, or food sources. And you know very well, bioterrorism is rare and is used to threaten people, governments, and countries. In bioterrorist attacks, Usually, only a small number of people may be injured or affected. However, many more become afraid. They change their behavior because of their fear. So in this context, there are so many things shall be looked upon to understand the bioterrorism aspect. Bioterrorism is a reality and we are all threatened. We need to make a critical choice without delay. I mean to say that there shall be some action plan to overcome bioterrorism in these days. Otherwise, it will be prolonging like anything. That's why the recent anthrax attack of Atom 2001, you know very well, have nullified any resort to relaxed deliberations because response measures, no matter how elaborate, cannot confine the spread of a disease and panic within acceptable limits. Our choices must focus on preventing terrorists from acquiring or developing biological weapons. That's very, very important. That's why there is an inexorable linkage between preventing bioterrorism and controlling biological weapons are concerned. So in this context, obviously, there are so many questions which shall also be asked. First of all, we have to have some rhetoric questions, incidental questions, or accidental questions. And they do have their own seminal significance here and there. First of all, let us understand what is bioterrorism, what are the biological agents that can be utilized for bioterrorism. There are so many agents which are helpful to these bioterrorists. And what are the causes of bioterrorism and where exactly bioterrorism has come through and how exactly the bioterrorism shall be overcome and what are other sources of detailed information on bioterrorism. How can you target yourself for bioterrorism attack and what are the warning signs of the bioterrorist activities or attacks and what should you do if there has been a bioterrorism attack? How do you know if you have been actually exposed to bioterrorism agent? Should I have some antibiotics on on hand just to in case I get exposed? What are the policies available? So these are the major questions shall be asked when it comes to the knowledge of bioterrorism as such. You know very well, biological weapons are the poor man's atom bombs. When you are manufacturing nuclear weapons, atomic bombs, you require a lot of money to spend, but it's not, you don't require more money to manufacture such kind of biological weapons are concerned. And bioweapons offer terrorist groups and rogue states. I don't want to name them, which are the rogue states. Perhaps you may have gone through. It depends on the culture of the society as a whole. When it comes to the knowledge of our own civilization has come through on the basis of different observations and understandings. Look at the international level. Perhaps you may have gone through many civilizations which are helpful to understand our own pulses. That's very important. Look at, you have Assyrian civilization, Mesopotamian civilization, Greek civilization, Roman, Indus Valley civilization, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro civilization. Everything we have. What is civilization? What we do is our civilization. What we form is our culture, You have to understand civilization and the culture. Otherwise, it's very difficult to overcome all these menace at the international level as such. So that's why, as and when you deal with these aspects, one shall not be forgotten on our culture. What is culture? What we for is our culture. It's not actually based on poverty as such. Poverty, it is there everywhere. Even after 100 years, you are going to witness the poverty. Look at Mahabharata and Ramayana. When Shabari met Rama, she did not find a North Indian or South Indian food. She had just, wild fruits, gave them to Rama, worship the God, Rama as such. So in this context, I must share with you, poverty, it is there everywhere. One has to understand. Look at in your Mahabharata, Ashwatthama used to drink milk powder rather than real milk. One fine day, he tasted a real milk and asked a fundamental question to his mother, what does it mean? Then she started crying and shared, it was because of poverty, I was just giving you milk powder rather than real milk as such. See, in this context, I must share with you, of course, poverty is one of the major reasons for all these consequences. I agree with you. However, that is not ultimate. Culture is very important. You should know how to behave with others. And you have to understand what is Kriya and Karma. Kriya for yourself, Karma for others. What is Karma here? Karma is actually well designed on the basis of a Dharma. What is Dharma here? Karma. You have to understand all these aspects in otherwise manner. It means one owes a duty towards others. If at all you want to enjoy your life, first of all, you have to understand what are the rights of others. That's very, very important. I mean to say, where there is a right, there is a duty. Where there is a duty, there is a liability. This is our dual relations. If something has gone wrong by terrorists, you should prosecute them, punish them. If they are highly inhuman, against to the mankind as a whole, if they are relying on genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, crimes against peace, they should be prosecuted mercilessly. That's very, very important. And moreover, if rather I would say, if X happens, then Y ought to happen. If X commits a crime, he should be prosecuted. This is our dual relations. This is what our jurisprudence has taught us to understand all these examples in otherwise manner. So what I would like to share with you, once you have found that few people are actually practicing bioterrorist activities, you have to catch them, punish them. That's very, very important. See, ಈಗ ಏನಂತೀರಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬೆಕ್ಕಿಗೆ ಗಂಟೆ ಕಟ್ಟೋರು ಯಾರು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತೀರಾ ಅಲ್ವಾ? See, you have to catch the cat, bell the cat, then only you can understand where exactly it is moving. This is very, very important. Otherwise, it's very difficult to understand who bells the cat. Who bells the cat? It's a well-known tenets. I agree with you, but there is a lot of scope to understand the problems in which are highly expressive on the basis of these antecedents are concerned. So that's why no matter however it could be, bioterrorism is a crime against to the mankind as a whole. Seriously speaking, we need to have some specific legislations at the international level as such. See, we have just two main laws which are highly expressive to overcome bioterrorism all along. We have, Geneva Protocol 1925 and, prohibition of biological weapons 1972. Except these specific developments at the international level, we are not finding some more legislations at the national level or covenants at the international level as such. So that's why we need to have some action plans to overcome bioterrorism. Otherwise, these problems will be continued till the end of your life as such. So that's why, in nutshell, I can say this used to be called as if black biology. See, shadowy science in which microorganisms are genetically engineered for the sole purpose of creating novel weapons of terror as such. See, what is bioterrorism? Based on my research questions, I'm just sharing with you. It is a highly intentional release. ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ನಾವು ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದಾಗೆ, ವೈರಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದಾಗೆ, ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದಾಗೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತವೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ some of them are natural and others are man-made. If they are man-made, you have to talk more on bioterrorism as such. ಜೈವಿಕ ಭಯೋತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಉದ್ದೇಶಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಜನರನ್ನ ಟಾರ್ಗೆಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ವಾರ್ ಸಿಚುಯೇಷನ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ವಾರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಜರ್ಮನಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ನೀವು WTC ಹಿಟ್ ಸೆಪ್ಟೆಂಬರ್ 11, 2001 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿನ್ ಲ್ಯಾಡನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಇನ್ಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಂಥ್ರಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ಸ್ಟೀವನ್ ಅಂತ ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಫ್ಲೋರಿಡಾ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಯಾಗ್ನೋಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಅವನನ್ನ ಡಾಕ್ಟ್ರು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಅವನ ಬಾಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಆಂಥ್ರಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಟೆರರಿಸ್ಟ್ಗಳು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾರಣ. ವೈರಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ, ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಎನಿಮೀಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಟಾರ್ಗೆಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಜೈವಿಕ ಭಯೋತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಅಥವಾ ಬಯೋಟೆರರಿಸಮ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. Of course, no doubt, we need to have some action plans to overcome. ಈಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಆಂಥ್ರಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಬೋಲಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, COVID-19 ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಲ್ಯಾಂಬ್ಡಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಲಾಸಾ ಇದೆ. ನೀವೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಚಾಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗಿ ಸುಮಾರು ವೈರಸ್ಗಳು, ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳು, ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅದು ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ಅಪ್ರೋಚ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇದೆ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ 27 ಆಫ್ ವಿಯೆನ್ನಾ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಕನ್ವೆನ್ಷನ್ ಆನ್ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್, ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ 1966 they are permitted. However, science should be useful for mankind as a whole. That's very, very important. ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಮತ್ತು ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನ ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಮನುಷ್ಯರಿಗೊಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆದನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇದೆ ಬಂದಿರೋದು. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹಾರ್ಫುಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಈಗೆಲ್ಲ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳಾಗ್ತವೆ. ಈಗ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ನಾವು ಈಗಾಗ್ಲೇ ಅನುಭವಿಸಿ ಸಾಕಾಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ. COVID-19 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಟೈಮ್ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್, ಜೀವಪಡ ಜಾತಿ, ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ರಂಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಬಹಳ ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಲುಕ್ಡ್ ಅಪಾನ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ಈಗ ನಾಳೆಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ವೈರಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಡಿಸೀಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಜೈವಿಕ ಭಯೋತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಕರಿಬಹುದು, ಈ ಬಯೋಟೆರರಿಸಮ್ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಕರಿಬಹುದು. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಲುಕ್ಡ್ ಅಪಾನ್ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಒಂದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ತಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಷಯ ಮಂಡನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸಿ, ದಿ ಅನ್ಲಾಫುಲ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವೈಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಟು ಇಂಟಿಮಿಡೇಟ್ ಆರ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಅ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಸರ್ಕಾರವನ್ನ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಜನರನ್ನ ಈಗ ಜನರಿಗೆ ತೊಂದರೆ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಬಯೋಟೆರರಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ ಟ್ರೆಡಿಷನಲ್ ವೆಪನ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಗನ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ದೆನ್ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಬಾಂಬ್ಸ್. ಇವನ್ನ ನಾವು ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಹಣವನ್ನ ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತೈತಿ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಈ ಬಯಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ ವೆಪನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಬಹಳ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆರಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳೇ ಸಾಕು. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈಗ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ನಾನು ಒಂದ್ಸಾರಿ ಬಯೋಟೆರರಿಸಂ ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಬಂದು, ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಚೈನಾದಿಂದ ವುಹಾನಿಂದ ಬಂತಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ಇದಕ್ಕೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಪನಿಷ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆಯಾ, ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಬೇರೆ ದಾರಿಗಳಿದೆ, ಓವರ್ಕಮ್ ಇದಾವೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎವಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ಗಳಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಾಗ್ಲಿ ನೀವು FIR ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಎವಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕು. ಎವಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ದಂಗೆ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ಕಾರಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಕೂತು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೂ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಯಾರು ವೈರಸ್ಗಳು, ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳು, ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಯಾರು ಆಳವಾಗಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಿ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಸೊ ಅಂತರ್ದು ಒಂದು ಟೀಮ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ವೈರಸ್ಗಳು ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾವ ಅದನ್ನ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣ ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಯಾವುದೇ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಎಚ್ಚೆತ್ತುಕೊಳ್ಳಿಲ್ಲ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ a serious issue. One has to understand, not only in India, cutting across the world as such. So that's why something has to be looked upon at this juncture. We need to have some policies to overcome bioterrorism, and this is the right time to punish bioterrorists. ಈಗ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಟೆರರಿಸಂ ಇದೆ, ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಬಾರ್ಡರ್ ಟೆರರಿಸಂ ಇದೆ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಟೆರರಿಸಂ ಇದೆ, ಸೈಬರ್ ಟೆರರಿಸಂ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಬಯೋಟೆರರಿಸಮ್ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಜೈವಿಕ ಭಯೋತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್. ಈ ಟೆರರಿಸಂ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಹೇಳಿದೀವಿ, ಸುಮಾರು ಕನ್ವೆನ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ, ಅದೇ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಒಡಂಬಡಿಕೆಗಳು ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಕೋವನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಅಗ್ರಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ, ಟ್ರೀಟೀಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ, ಪಾಲಿಸೀಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ. The way in which UNO has been actually putting its efforts to overcome terrorism is to be looked upon. I agree with you, I'm not disputing. However, few countries are not coordinating with United Nations organizations to overcome all these. So why? So there is a relevance from the standpoint. ಸೊ ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಈ ಜೈವಿಕ ಭಯೋತ್ಪಾದನೆಯನ್ನ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಸರ್ಕಾರಗಳು, ಎಲ್ಲಾ ದೇಶಗಳು ಕೂತು ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಜನರಲ್ ಅಸೆಂಬ್ಲಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರಿಯೇಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಥವಾ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಕೇಸ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ದ ನೋಟಿಸ್ ಆಫ್ ICJ, I mean International Court of Justice, or ICC, that the International Criminal Court as such, in which it has got highest jurisdiction to try the matters of greater relevance as such. So that's why Rome Statute 1998 was initiated. So based on Rome Statute 1998, in 2001, International Criminal Court was constituted. So since then, it has been prosecuting some of the grave crimes against humanity, war crimes, genocide, crimes against peace as such. So that's why in this context, you have to understand what is bioterrorism, what are the contents in it, what are the laws are available. If something has gone wrong, how, in what manner these bioterrorists should be caught and produced before the court of law for prosecution as such. This is very, very important. And I said in otherwise manner, if X happens, then Y ought to happen. If X commits a crime, he should be prosecuted. That's very, very important. And moreover, who bells the cat, that's your notion. You have to catch the cat, bell the cat, understand where exactly it's moving. This is very, very important from the point of view of understanding the law as such. On the other hand, one has to understand where exactly you have come from. Then only you appreciate yourself, where are you going. This is very, very important from the point of view of understanding these observations are concerned. So that's why I believe one of the statements given by Leo Tolstoy, wherein he says, one of the first conditions of the happiness is to bridge the gap between man and nature. That shall not be broken. You have to understand. See, as long as you are living with other human being, so long you should behave properly. That's very, very important. And understand peace. We need to have peace. We don't want war. I hate war, isn't it? See, of course, no matter, war can be one of the steps to overcome some of the long-standing issues and challenges between states themselves. I agree with you. War is a last resort. War is a last resort. Resort in the sense that when you have failed in resolving the disputes peaceably, like negotiation, mediation, good office, judicial settlements, arbitration, or conciliation, then you can invite war. I agree with you, no matter. But there are a lot of scope to understand what is war as such. How will you understand war? Look at the OpenAIM's definition on war. War means it is a contest between states themselves. Now that definition is redundant because of total war. Please understand total war. What is total war? How will you understand total war? It means war is not only a contest between states, but also individuals. Individuals have come through. That's why in Rome Statute 1998, the concept of individual criminal responsibility is explained in a neat and effective manner. Individual criminal responsibility should be brought in. That's why ನಿಮಗೆ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ವಾರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಕ್ರಿಮಿನಲ್ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೂರೆಂಬರ್ ಟ್ರಯಲ್ ಒಂದು, ಮೇಲಾಲಾಯ್ ಟ್ರಯಲ್ ಒಂದು, ಜರ್ಮಲ್ ಟ್ರಯಲ್ ಒಂದು, ಟೋಕಿಯೋ ಟ್ರಯಲ್ ಅಂತ ಸುಮಾರು ಟ್ರಯಲ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ನಾವು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಕೋರ್ಟೇ ಇರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಕ್ರಿಮಿನಲ್ ಕೋರ್ಟೇ ಇರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವತ್ತು ವಾರ್ ಆದಾಗ ಯಾರನ್ನು ಪನಿಷ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಕೇವಲ ಸ್ಟೇಟಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನೀವು 1993, 1994 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ನೋಡಿ, ಈ ಇಂಟರ್ನಲ್ ಕ್ರಿಮಿನಲ್ ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯುನಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ ಯುಗೋಸ್ಲೋವಿಯಾ, ಇಂಟರ್ನಲ್ ಕ್ರಿಮಿನಲ್ ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯುನಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ರುವಾಂಡಾ, 1993, 1994 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಕ್ರಿಮಿನಲ್ ಟ್ರೈಬ್ಯುನಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ವಾರ್ ಕ್ರೈಮ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಆದ್ರೆ ಅಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ವಾರ್ ಕ್ರಿಮಿನಲ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶವನ್ನ ಕಲ್ಪಿಸಿದ್ವಿ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ. ಈಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಯಾವ ಸರ್ಕಾರನು ಕೂಡ ಮುಂದೆ ಬರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ ತನ್ನ ಯಾರು ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪನಿಷ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಓವರ್ಕಮ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತತಿ ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕೇವಲ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿಯನ್ನ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದಲ್ಲ, ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ಸ್ಗೂ ನೀವು ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಆತ ಮಾಡಿದ ಒಂದು ಏನು ನಿರ್ಧಾರಗಳಿದಾವಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಒಂದು ಶಾಂತಿಯನ್ನೇ ಭಂಗಗೊಳಿಸ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಅಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ one has to take some collective responsibility to overcome. That's why the collective responsibility, which has expressed under UN Charter 1945, shall also be looked upon. That's why we have to join our hands with the United Nations organization. However, you might have got some criticisms leveled against to United Nations organization. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ವಿಶ್ವಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಟೀಕೆಗಳು ಇದಾವೆ. ಆದ್ರೂ ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಸೆಟಪ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾನೂನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾಳೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಗಳು ಹಾಳಾಗೋಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತವೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಈ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ರಿಲೇಶನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಹಾಳಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಸಂವಿಧಾನನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ಸಂವಿಧಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನಿದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ? ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್, ಫಂಡಮೆಂಟಲ್ ರೈಟ್ಸ್, ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಪಾಲಿಸೀಸ್, ಇಂಟರ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ರಿಲೇಷನ್ಸ್, ಪವರ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಅಫಿಷಿಯಲ್ಸ್, ಅಮೆಂಡ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಗಳಿದಾವೆ, ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಗಳಿದಾವೆ, ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ಗಳಿದಾವೆ. ಇಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸೀಮಿತ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಅದರ ಒಳ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಒಂದು ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಈ ದೇಶದ ಜನರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಭಾರತದ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಭಾರತದ ಜನತೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇವಲ ನೀವು ಭೌಗೋಳಿಕವಾಗಿ ಡೆಫಿನಿಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಹಿಮಾಲಯದ ಉತ್ತರ ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಮಾಲಯ ಇದೆ, ಇದು ದಕ್ಷಿಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ಯಾಕುಮಾರಿ ಇದೆ, ಆ ಕಡೆ ಬೇ ಆಫ್ ಬೆಂಗಾಲ್ ಇದೆ, ಈ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಅರೇಬಿಯನ್ ಸಿ ಇದೆ, ನಡುವೆ ವಿಂಧ್ಯ ಪರ್ವತಗಳು ಇದಾವೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಯುವರ್ ಜಿಯೋಗ್ರಫಿಕಲ್ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್ ಭೌಗೋಳಿಕವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್. ಆದ್ರೆ ಸಂವಿಧಾನವನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಜನರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊ, ಇಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ, ರಾಜಕೀಯ, ಆರ್ಥಿಕ, ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅಂದಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಿಮಗೆ ಈ ದೇಶದ ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ದಿ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ is not so simple because it's not at all a drama or a novel or a story as such. ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಕವನ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಕಾದಂಬರಿ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅಥವಾ ನಾಟಕ ಅಲ್ಲ. It's a story of mankind. One has to understand. That's one of the major aspects. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸುಮಾರು ಇತಿಹಾಸಕಾರರು ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ಇದು ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತಾನು ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟು ಬಯೋಟೆರರಿಸಮ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾನು ಫೋಕಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸೊ ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಸಮ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ದೇ ರೀಡ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್, they don't know how to understand the constitution. Some people they read it, they know how to understand the constitution, but they don't know how to interpret the constitution. And some people they know how to read it, understand it, they know how to interpret the constitution. When they are sitting at the higher level, look at their statements, highly safe corner and sweeping statements. So these are the issues and challenges that we have when it comes to the knowledge of law as such. So I am sharing, when you are actually relying on bioterrorism, something has to be looked upon. I mean to say that you have to understand the national and the international law as such. ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಕಾನೂನು ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಲೋಕಲ್, ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್, ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯವಾಗಿ ಏನೇನು ಕಾನೂನುಗಳಿದಾವಲ್ಲ ಅವನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇದು ಬಯೋಟೆರರಿಸಮ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ತಿಳಿದಿರೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಈ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಟೆರರಿಸಮ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಟೆರರಿಸಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಅಂಶಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ಬೋಕೋ ಹರಾಮ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಬೋಕೋ ಹರಾಮ ವಿಚ್ ವಾಸ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ಯೂಸುಫ್ ಅಲಿ ಇನ್ ಆಫ್ರಿಕಾ. ದೆನ್ ಅಲ್ ಕಾಯಿದಾ, ತಾಲಿಬಾನ್, ISIL, ದೆನ್ ಲಷ್ಕರ್ ತೊಯ್ಬಾ, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಟೆರರಿಸ್ಟ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಟೆರರಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಯಾಕೆ ಓವರ್ಕಮ್ ಆಗ್ತಲ್ಲ? ಕಾರಣ ಏನು? ಯಾಕೆ ಟೆರರಿಸಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ಓವರ್ಕಮ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಲ್ವಾ? ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಕೋಪ್ ಟು ಓವರ್ಕಮ್ ಟೆರರಿಸಮ್ ಆಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಎಫರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗಳು ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸೇರಿಸಿ ಒಂದು ಆಕ್ಷನ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಟಾರ್ಗೆಟೆಡ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಸ್ ಇದಾರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಓವರ್ಕಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಅದರ್ವೈಸ್ ದೀಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ವುಡ್ ಬಿ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಡ್ till the end of your life. These are the two things we have. On the other hand, being a lawyer, I can share with you on the basis of two-dimensional observations. One is westernization and easternization. Your westernization has come through on the basis of Christianity, whereas easternization has focused on the basis of Islamic faith. So in between these two isms, other religious fundamentals are squeezing like anything. So that's why we need to have some action plans to overcome all these, like westernization, easternization, northern hemisphere or southern hemisphere. Something has to be looked upon, and I must share with you, we need to have an international cooperation. Just look into preamble of UN Charter 1945, wherein it has outspoken on international cooperation and mutual coexistence with a view to promote and encourage human rights and fundamental freedoms without distinction with race, sex, language, and religion access. This is what the preamble of UN Charter 1945 has outspoken. On the basis of these traditional methods, your United Nations organization came out with some concrete solutions to overcome as such. So that's why we need to have some action plan as such. And moreover, if rather I would say bioterrorism is actually emphasizing on the basis of biological attacks. bioterrorists are actually attacking civilians, causing severe disruption to the economic conditions, social infrastructure, loss of life in excess of nuclear, chemical, and conventional weapons are concerned. See, biological attack ಹೆಂಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಈಗ ನಮಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎವಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ COVID-19 ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಆಂಥ್ರಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಬೋಲಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಫಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಮೇಡು ಇದೆ. ಈ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಮೇಡು ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ನಾವು ಬಹಳ ಕೂಲಂಕುಷವಾಗಿ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಹೇಳಕ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈಗ ಬಯಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಲಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಿವಿಲಿಯನ್ ಕ್ಯಾಸುಯಾಲಿಟಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಸಿಂಗ್ ಸಿವಿಯರ್ ಡಿಸ್ರಪ್ಷನ್ ಟು ಎಕಾನಮಿಕ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್. ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ದೇಶದ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಹಾಳಾಗೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಸೋಶಿಯಟಲ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ರಾಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಇತ್ತೀಚಿನ ದಿನದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವು ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕವಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಡನಾಡಿಗಳಾಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಾಂದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. It's a realistic threat. One has to understand. You need to have skills to develop and disperse biological agents. ಈ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಡಿಸ್ಪರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಸ್, ಬಹಳ ನೈಪುಣ್ಯತೆ ಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ವೈರಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಸುಲಭ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಈ ಟೆರರಿಸ್ಟ್ ಗಳು ಈಗ ಎನಿಮೀಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಟಾರ್ಗೆಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಇಂಥ ವೈರಸ್ಗಳು, ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳು, ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ನಾನು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ವಾರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಜರ್ಮನ್ ಅದು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇದೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, 1600 BC ಕೂಡ ಜನರು ತಮ್ಮ ಎನಿಮಿಗಳನ್ನ ಟಾರ್ಗೆಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ವೈರಸ್ಗಳು, ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳು, ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅಂತಂದು ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಡೆಗೂ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಈಗ ಈ ಒಂದು ವೈರಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಕೊಲಾಬರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದೇರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಂಡಸ್ಟೈನ್ ಬಯೋ ವೆಪನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸ್. ಈಗ ನಾನು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದಾಗ ಇನ್ 1970 USSR ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಅಂತಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ಅಪ್ರೋಚ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳು, ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ವೈರಸ್ಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ನಡೀತು. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು 2500 ಸೈಂಟಿಸ್ಟ್ಗಳು ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಯಾವಾಗ ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಬಂತೋ ಅವಾಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ಕೆಲಸ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು. ಆ ಕೆಲಸ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡವ್ರು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ರು. ಸೊ ಇವ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಬಯಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ ವೆಪನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಎನಿಮೀಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ಟಾರ್ಗೆಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಏನಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಬಂತು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಅರ್ಥೈಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಬಯೋಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಈಸ್ ಗ್ರೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟ್ರೆಮೆಂಡಸ್. ಈಗ ನೀವು ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಬಯೋಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್ಗಳಿದೆ. ಒಬ್ಬ ಆರ್ಡಿನರಿ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಕೂತು ಈ ಒಂದು ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳನ್ನ, ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ, ವೈರಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಜನರ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಿಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಅಷ್ಟು ಅವಕಾಶ ಇದೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆಗಳು ಬಯೋಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಆಗಿದೆ. ನೀವು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ನಾನು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಈ ಬಯೋ ಪೈರಸಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಬಯೋ ವೆಪನರಿ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕರಿಬಹುದು. ಯಾಕೆಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಸೀಡ್ಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲೇ ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್, ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾ ಅಥವಾ ವೈರಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಲಾಂಗ್ ರನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಆರೋಗ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಹಾನಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಅಂತ ಅವಕಾಶಗಳು ಇದಾವೆ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಲುಕ್ಡ್ ಅಪಾನ್ ಅಂತ ನನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಅನಿಸಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ. ಯಾಕೆಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾನೂನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ, ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಕಾನೂನಿಲ್ಲ. ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಕಾನೂನು ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಓವರ್ಕಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ. 1925 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಜೆನೆವಾ ಪ್ರೋಟೋಕಾಲ್ ಇದೆ. ಅದು ಅಂತ ಏನು ಪ್ರೋಟೋಕಾಲ್ ಏನಲ್ಲ. ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಪ್ರಾಹಿಬಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಬಯಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ ವೆಪನ್ಸ್ 1972 ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಕಂಟ್ರೀಸ್ಗಳು ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ರಾಟಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳೋದು, ಒಂದು ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಒಡಂಬಡಿಕೆಯನ್ನ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಬರೀ ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ರಾಟಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಅನುಮೋದನೆ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ವಿಯೆನ್ನಾ ಕನ್ವೆನ್ಷನ್ ಆನ್ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ರೀಟೀಸ್ 1969 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಹೇಳಿದೀವಿ. ಯಾಕೆಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಒಡಂಬಡಿಕೆ ಅದು ಏನೋ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ, ಜಾರಿಗೊಳಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ mere signature is not sufficient. There shall be a ratification. This is what law says. That has to be looked upon. ಕೇವಲ ಬರೇ ಜಿನೆವಾಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಫ್ಲೈಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಸೀದಾ ಮನೆಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. It's not actually good enough to overcome all these. Something has to be looked upon. Otherwise it's very difficult. ಈಗ ನಾಳೆಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಮ್ಮೆ ಈ ಬಯೋ ಟೆರರಿಸಮ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾರು ಹೊಣೆಗಾರರು? ಈಗ ಸುಮಾರೀಗ ಈಗ COVID-19 ನಮಗೆ ಎರಡು ದ್ವಂದ್ವಗಳು ಇದ್ದಾವೆ. ಇದು ಬಯೋ ಟೆರರಿಸಮ್ ಅಥವಾ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಈಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮಗೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಆಧಾರ ಸ್ತಂಭಗಳೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರೂ ಇದು ಬಯೋ ಟೆರರಿಸಮ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದಾ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಊಹೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಏನೋ ಹೈಪೋಥೆಸಿಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಲ್ ಹೈಪೋಥೆಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ. ಆ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಲ್ ಹೈಪೋಥೆಸಿಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ನಾವೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ, ಅಥವಾ ನೀವೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಈ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ತಕೊಂಡು ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಹೈಪೋಥೆಸಿಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಅಥವಾ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಇಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಇಂಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಇಂಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್, ಡಿಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಪೋಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಶೇರ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ಎನಿ ಸೈಂಟಿಸ್ಟ್, ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ಅಪ್ರೋಚಸ್ ಇಂದ ನೋಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ದ್ವಂದ್ವಗಳು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕನ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ there is a lot of scope to overcome bioterrorism here and there. Otherwise it's very difficult to understand bioterrorism as such. And moreover, individuals with basic biology and engineering training could develop effective weapons at a little cost. ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹಣ ಏನ್ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಬಾಂಬ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಲೇಸರ್ ಬಾಂಬ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಹಣ ಬೇಕು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಬಯಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ ವೆಪನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇನು ಹಣ ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಎನಿ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ವಿತ್ ಎ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ನಾಲೆಜ್, biological knowledge or biology or engineering training could develop effective weapons at a little cost as such. So medical providers are less familiar with appropriate diagnosis and treatment as such. ಯಾಕಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ನಾಳೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವೈರಸ್ ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂತು ಅಂತ, ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ಡಯಾಗ್ನೋಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಇಟ್ಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್. ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಡಕ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ. ಬಂದಿದ್ರು ನೀವು ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿನೇಷನ್ ಇದೆ, ಕಂಪಲ್ಸರಿ ಇದೆ, ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ ಒಂದು ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಿ, ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳು ಬಂದಾಗ ಏನ್ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ಸ್ ತಗೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ WHO ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ಸ್, ಏನು ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಇಂಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಲೆಸ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿಯರ್ ವಿತ್ ಅಪ್ರೋಪ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಡಯಾಗ್ನೋಸ್ ಆರ್ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಸಚ್. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಮೇಜರ್ realistic issues we have when it comes to the knowledge of bioterrorism as such. And inexpensive, easy to produce, conceal, transport can cause considerable damage without elaborate weaponization. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಬಯಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ ವೆಪನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೀವು ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಇನ್ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಿವ್, ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹಣ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ನೀವು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಮುಚ್ಚಿ ಇಡ್ಬೋದು, ಕನ್ಸೀಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಾಸ್ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರಬಲ್ ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜ್ ವಿತೌಟ್ ಎಲಾಬ್ರೇಟ್ ವೆಪನೈಸೇಷನ್. ಯಾಕಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಲೇಸರ್ ಬಾಂಬ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ, ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಬಾಂಬ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ನೇ ತರ ವೆಪನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಸ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಈ ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್ಗಳು, ವೈರಸ್ಗಳು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳನ್ನ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇಂಥ ಒಂದು ಅವಕಾಶ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. Look at World Health Organization. describes biological weapons as microorganisms like virus, bacteria, fungi, or other toxins that are produced and released deliberately to cause disease and death in humans, animals, and plants. Biological weapons are gradually being recognized as one of the crucial future threats to international security also. That's why WHO has taken certain steps to overcome. So there are some biological agents, kindly have a look on. So these are the biological agents. We have classified them into ABC level. A, B, C agents are there. I will explain which are the ABC agents which are responsible for bioterrorism. You have bacteria, viruses, insects, fungi, toxins. Maybe in a natural occurring you can find them. A human modified form you have in much the same way as a biological warfare as biological warfare as. So ಮನುಷ್ಯರ ಮೇಲೆ ನೀವು ಆ ಅಸ್ತ್ರಗಳನ್ನ ಬಿಡಬಹುದು ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರ ಮುಖಾಂತರ. ಈಗ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಬಿಡ್ಬೋದು, ವೈರಸ್ಗಳ ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ, ಫಂಗಿ, ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಹಿಂದೆ ಎಂತ ಒಂದು ಹೀನಿಯಸ್ ಸಿಚುಯೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಯುದ್ಧಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಇಂತ ಒಂದು ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅಂತ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ನಿಮಗೆ ಎವಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ಗಳಿದೆ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಹಾರ್ಮ್ಫುಲ್ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ ಟು ಕಾಸ್ ಇಲ್ನೆಸ್, ದೆನ್ ಡೆತ್ ಇನ್ ಪೀಪಲ್, ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್, ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲದನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಏರ್, ವಾಟರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ಫುಡ್. ಗಾಳಿ ಮುಖಾಂತರ, ನೀರಿನ ಮುಖಾಂತರ, ಆಹಾರದ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಹಾಗೆ biological agents are attractive to terrorists because they are extremely difficult to detect. ಈಗ ಇಂಥ ಟೆರರಿಸ್ಟ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನೀವು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? ಈತ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾ ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ, ವೈರಸ್ ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ಕೊಂಡಾರೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಗೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ biological agents are attractive because they are extremely difficult to detect. ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಈತ ಇದು ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗಳನ್ನ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ, ವೈರಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಟಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟೈಸ್ಡ್ investigating officers to find out these terrorist in otherwise manner. And moreover, look at the smallpox virus can be spread from person to person, and some like anthrax. Easy and inexpensive to obtain, can be easily disseminated and can cause widespread fear, panic beyond the actual physical damages. ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ physical damage ಆದ್ರೂ ಈ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಟೆರರ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಭಯ ಅಂತ, ನೀವು ಫೋಬಿಯಾ, ಭಯವನ್ನ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಇಂಥ ಸಿಚುಯೇಷನ್. Moreover, foot and mouth disease like virus which was widespread in UK, United Kingdom, you can find out here, then threatening to people, governments and countries as well. So these are the major issues and challenges we have when it comes to the knowledge of terrorism. ಈತ ನೋಡಿ ಮಾಸ್ಕ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಯುನೈಟೆಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಏರ್ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ವೇರಿಂಗ್ M17 ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಬಯಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ವಾರ್ಫೇರ್ ಮಾಸ್ಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಹುಡ್. ಈಗ ನೋಡಿ ಇವ್ರು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಅನ್ಬೋದು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಪಾಪ ಮಾಸ್ಕ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ, COVID-19 ಬಂದಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅನ್ಬೋದು. ಬಟ್ he is carrying all these things. Please understand, we don't know how, in what manner these virus and bacteria or toxins are going to be spread to the people and harmful to the people or mankind as a whole. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳಿದೆ. ಜನರನ್ನ ಸಾಯಿಸಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ತಯಾರಿ ಇದಾನೆ ಅನ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈತ ಒಂದನೆ ನಮಗೆ ಸಾಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ 5 types of live viruses we have, like Ebola you have Marburg, Lassa, Kremen, ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು. There are 5 types of live viruses which are highly expressive to overcome.
Next continue.
Okay. And ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ
Stop.
stop. ಮಾಡಿದ್ರ?
Recording stop ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಸರ್.
Stop. 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have some questions in this session? Shall I take another 5 minutes to complete the process? Okay, thank you. So these are the agents we have, like most dangerous agents, like category A, category B, category C. They are highly dangerous to the mankind as a whole. These are the agents we have, like highest risk and highest priority, because they can easily spread from person to person, result in high mortality rate, possesses the potential for major public health impact. You have all these, like anthrax, botulism, you have plague, smallpox, tularemia, and viral hemorrhagic fevers like Ebola, Marburg, or viruses, that is a Lassa, Macopo. So these are the agents we have, like mortality, rate maybe moderate, result in the morbidity rate and low mortality virus, like these are the ones we please have a look on, and he will have known how not manner these viruses or bacteria or toxins are used to kill people or any animal or livestock as such. Emerging threats for disease, these agents are easily available, easily produced and transmitted, have the potential for high mortality and morbidity rate, like Nipah virus, you have antivirus, and severe acute respiratory syndrome you have, like SARS, as you have already been known, SARS, HIV. These are the agents which are actually emerging to rise them, and these agents are easily available, easily produced and transmitted in the society as such. Look at anthrax you have. In 2001, 22 cases of disease were reported in the United States. Then, like based on this hide, wool's, hair, and undercooked meat. It is because of these reasons anthrax was widespread in United States of America. There are some symptoms. Kindly have a look on: breaks in the skin and breathing in swelling prevention. These are the major symptoms of the anthrax as such. You have plague. Some of them are man-made and others are natural. If it is natural, you have to prosecute them accordingly. It is because of these reasons you have been facing fever, painful, swollen limb, not cold ulcers, as if bobos. These are the major symptoms of a plague. You have smallpox, like symptoms: high fever, severe headache, backache, abdomen pain. You have physical exhaustion, vomiting, seizures are the quite common when you have got smallpox as such. Botulism is one of the major problems cutting across the world. Of course, WHO has been putting its efforts to overcome. However, it requires a lot of drill to overcome. You have Ebola. This has happened, especially in many countries are concerned, which was highly expressive. So what kind of laws we have? That could be prescribed by law, non-discriminative manner. There shall be due process of law to overcome. The infringement of rights must be necessary from both a scientific and a public health standpoint, and the infringement must be least restrictive possible under the circumstances are concerned. That's why we need to have some action plan overcome. So as and when you deal with bioterrorism, so these are the specific conventions which are highly expressive. Kindly have a look on. And moreover, in 1972, prohibition of biological weapons it came in with all humanitarian efforts to overcome, and they are actually based on the rules of humanity and the dictate of public consciousness. So based on dictate of public consciousness and rule of law or rules of humanity, these laws have come through at the international level to overcome all these issues and challenges are concerned. And moreover, the biological warfare programs during Second World War. This has happened, especially in Germany, Canada, UK, Japan, Soviet Union, US, all in one. See, all these states were involved with many viruses, bacteria, or toxins are concerned. Allegations during post-World War. There are so many criticisms leveled against these. See, at the end of this session, when you are actually relying on bioterrorism, see, bari punishment mukhya alla. Is there any cultural change? Is there any cultural change to overcome all these? And you have to strengthen preventive bioterrorism measures, and you have to develop novel antibiotic vaccinations. You have to enact national laws. That's most important. Enhance the national and civil defense system, competent institutional intervention, effective international cooperation as such. So through which we can work on. In nutshell, at the end of this session, if rather I would say, this synergy is very simple. And moreover, there are so many gigantic, complicated, or wider issues to understand the bioterrorism. Of course, there are some obligations on the part of states to overcome. Obligations in the sense that duty towards others. That's very, very important. All these states should sit together and decide what is to be done and what ought not to be done, and how in what manner bioterrorism should be overcome based on some specific international legislations are concerned. So in this context, the very truth should be looked upon. I mean to say, I respect your truth, please respect my truth. That is the strength should be looked upon. Otherwise, it's very difficult to understand bioterrorism as such. However, I have tried my level best to share few thoughts on bioterrorism, how not manner bioterrorism should be looked upon, no matter, however, it could be. This is the right time to understand bioterrorism all over the world, have some national and international policies. All these agencies should sit together. Look at in a Asian perspective, we have SARC. In a European perspective, we have European Union. At the regional level, we have a Organization of American States, Organization of African Union, which are actually running with regionalism as. However, you might have got a regionalism. There is a lot of scope to understand these issues and challenges based on the efforts made at UNS level as such. So the way in which United Nations organization has been working for maintaining or restoring international peace and security shall be looked upon. Otherwise, it's very difficult to understand what is peace, security at the international level as such. And I must share with you, however, you might have got